there, Synth Drones. Today we're going to be talking about what's next for synthesizers. Hi, I'm Pierre Drone, and this is my channel where I talk about synthesizers. If you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button and tap that bell to keep up with all of my synth adventures. Dig deeper on patreon.com/Pierre Drone, because on there I have a series that I'm going through called Why You're Not Making Any Money with Synthesizers. Listen, last year in 2018, CD Baby paid out over $100 million to their artist. Why aren't you getting a chunk of that change? Come and see me at patreon.com/PureAmbientDrone.com and check out my Synth Drones Facebook page or group, and I'll have all of those links in the comments below and also in the description. Now let's get on with what's next for synthesizers. Well, it's 2019, and we're hearing about a bunch of stuff that's supposed to be released from Behringer. Electron has just released a sampling groove box, and Roland seems to be rolling with the digital remakes of a lot of their older gear, like the 909, the 808, and doing their virtual synthesizer kind of a thing. But what is next for synthesizers? Not just for 2019, but the future of synthesizers. Have we reached our limit to what the technology can bring us? Are we there? Is this all that there is? Do you feel in today's synthesizer market that the companies are listening to the consumers? Now, you and I, we're synth drones. We go around YouTube and we go around the internet and we read and absorb everything we can about synthesizers because we have a love for them. But are the companies who are bringing this tech to our doorsteps, are they in love with synthesizers as much as the consumers are? I would say that in some cases they are, and in some cases they're not. Now, I believe that Electron is trying to do something different in the marketplace. I believe that they're trying to be innovative. I believe that they love synthesizers as much as the rest of us do. But I also think that because they're a smaller company, that it's really hard for them to bring a powerful, innovative product at a price point that consumers will afford, and they'll be able to maintain the manufacturing of said machines. Roland, in my opinion, don't get me wrong, Roland does have some really good products, okay? I don't think that Roland is seriously listening to the consumers, or they would have came out with more analog gear. I think Roland had this belief that analog was going to see its demise before it ever saw its resurrection. And they were wrong. They gambled wrong on that. They went instead with the virtual analog with their little simulation synth engine that they have, which I think it sounds good for what it is, but I don't think it replaces real analog. I'm sorry, Roland. I love your products for the most part, but I think you missed the mark on the analog craze that is still happening in the world today. Now, that's just my opinion. You guys, you might have a different opinion than what I do. With that being said, what is the future? I think what we're going to be seeing more of, and what is next for synthesizers, are hybrids. I think we're going to see something that is digital and analog, and maybe even sample-based or Rompler-based. I believe that the new trend is going to be trying to marry the technologies all together. Now, I do know that for the most part, synth enthusiasts have rejected the idea of any synthesizer that sounds almost like a VST, if you will, or a software synth. Companies have tried that before in the past, in the recent past, to bring software type sounding synthesizers to the market. There's just, what I mean by that is they're so digital that they sound like they came off a VST. And synth drones like you and I, we have rejected those kind of synthesizers, and we want more of the beefy, real sounding, juicy, hearty, thick sounding synths that are more organic. Unless synth companies listen and watch on YouTube and read online what the consumer wants, we're not going to get, us synth drones are not going to get what we crave for. But the question is, do synth drones, do synth enthusiasts, do they really know what they want? I think a lot of us do. I think we want an intuitive machine that gives us a sequencer, that gives us, first and foremost, creative control over the sound coming out of the box, right? With multiple outputs if we're going to have more than one voicing capability. And I think that's something that analog hasn't touched on too much, is that synth enthusiasts, we want to have the ability to multi-track analog synthesizers. Wouldn't it be cool if we could get a multi-track synthesizer that was analog, or maybe analog and digital? With that being said, Roland did run an attempt at that with the JD-XA. I think they did a fantastic job with the JD-XA, but there was some shortcomings in it being not intuitive enough. I don't know what it is for me. Now, I'm speaking just for myself. Your experience may differ. But the JD-XA is a love-hate relationship. I love the sound of the JD-XA, and I love some of the quick access controls, but sometimes I feel like I'm fighting the machine to get to where I want to be with it. Sometimes, not always. And so I think what synth enthusiasts, what we want is we want to have a box that pretty much covers all the bases. We want the sequencer. We want the multiple outs. We want the ability to be able to maybe even record tracks into the machine and save them for a later date, like a whole song is what I'm getting at when I say tracks. I think we need something that's more of a workstation that is also analog. Because right now, if you look at the market, there really isn't any analog workstations that are out there. And I don't know how they could pull it off, because you'd have to have some kind of digital control to do that with. You can't just take a full analog box and add all of the bells and whistles to it, because it does require some kind of digital interaction in order to be able to do all of that. But wouldn't it be cool if somebody came out with a fully analog workstation where you could put together an entire song idea and lay it down inside the box and groove with it? That would be really cool and very innovative. And I think that if that's the next step of evolution in the synth world, that would be a welcoming addition for that to happen. But, you know, I don't see the technology pushing forward, or the innovations pushing forward enough to be excited about anything anymore. I think what the synth companies need to work on are the intuitiveness of the machine. I don't know what it is, but every time I get myself a groove box or a synthesizer or a sampler, it seems like there's something missing, and it's almost like it's done on purpose, because how could the designer play around with, you know, a box and say, and not see some of the shortcomings? And I think that you guys know what I'm talking about. I've read many times online where people have complained, no matter what I get, there's always that one thing that seems to be missing. And I guess what synth drones like you and I want is, we want it all. We want it all in one little box, right? We want that magic box that we can pull out and everything happens for us. Now, if you think I'm crazy for saying this, well, I'm crazy anyway, whether or not I said it. So I don't mean to bust your bubble. But when it comes to this idea, I think a couple of people have already tried it. Roland tried it with the JD-XI. Now, that's a four-part synth box, if you will. It's a groove box. It's got your drums, it's got your analog, and it's got your two digital voices. They did a great job on the JD-XI. A fantastic job. The sequencer could have held more steps, though, right? I mean, 4 bars isn't cutting it. But if you go past 4 bars, it gets a little complicated to try to remember where you're at with all that stuff, too. I can understand that after 4 bars of music, it can get kind of complicated when you don't have a visual feedback on it. I think they also try to do it in somewhat an all-in-one box with their FA06, which I personally own, so I can only reference that, the Roland FA106. It had a sequencer in there. It lets you record everything in there and recall everything. It even had samples. Didn't have analog. Did not have analog. But it had all the other juicy things. Like I say, they did a fantastic job with the Roland FA06. One of the first synthesizers that I don't want to call it a synthesizer, but it's one of the first hardware pieces that I bought when I started getting back into hardware, okay? So I think they did a really great job in trying to do it in that respect, but I want to see something that's more analog. I want to see something that's more intuitive. I want to see something that brings out my creativity. And a final thought on all of this, okay, for the next step in synthesizers is I want to see something that gets people away from the DAW. And I don't know if that's going to happen unless it's a PC-based machine, because the the plugins that are out there, the VSTs for manipulating sound, you know, the compressors, right, the EQs that are out there available through software, some of them are, many of them, if not most of them, are fantastic. And I use plugins a great deal in the box, and I don't want to give those up. I do not want to give those up. And I don't want to take my creation from a hardware box and port it to the DAW for final tweaking and mixing and all of that stuff. I would if I found a good enough box to get my ideas down into, but I haven't found a good enough box. And I understand that Akai, I hope I'm saying that right, has come out with a new box that right at the top of my mind, it escapes me, so leave a comment if you know what I'm talking about. And it's supposed to be an all-in-one box that allows you to at least record your ideas and get your stuff down. But I think a synthesizer needs to bring us there. I think, wouldn't it be great if you just had everything in the box right there, and it's got your analog, it's got your recording, it's got your digital, you even got your samples. Somebody needs to build something like that. It would be expensive, it would be through the roof, and I would say that only people who are making a great living with their music would want to afford it, probably. But who knows, if it catches on and you got competition in the market and everybody starts building these things, it might become a thing, right? We just don't know. Well, anyways, that's just my thoughts on what's next for synthesizers. I just don't see a whole lot of innovation coming out. I just see a whole lot of recycling going on right now. To me, it's like the same movie with different popcorn, right? You see what I'm saying? But with that being said, I want to thank you guys for joining me here. And I want to remind you now, guys, one more time, patreon.com/Pure Ambient Drone. I add a lot more stuff on there. I go into stuff deeper over there. I'll be giving away some free music over there. I already have. Got some really cool videos over there that are not on this YouTube channel. And I'm continuing my series on why you're not making any money with your music. Remember what I said about CD Baby? $100 million. $100 million. And this is not a lottery, guys. This isn't something that you get lucky, okay, and you get a share of, okay? I can tell you right now, I'm getting some of that money, right? So anyways, join me over there. Thank you guys. Until next time.